Hi, everybody. How are you? It's Mike Andrew. Executive presence, executive gravitas, executive maturity, very, very important. I can't tell you how many times I've had senior managers, executives come up to me and say, what can I do to improve my executive presence? And it's very difficult to train. Although there is one professor from the University of Michigan, Ross School of Business, who is outstanding, and I would recommend her to anybody. But the best way that I could try to help people is to observe them and give them immediate feedback. The Gartner Group, a well-known research company, once researched the top attributes, the top traits of successful executives. And what they found is number two, executive presence. There's a guy who was once a speechwriter for 3 U.S. presidents. His name was James Humes. He once said that every time you speak, you are auditioning for leadership. Very important. And one of my recent responsibilities with this company was executive appointments, where we would interview people into the executive ranks, select them into the executive ranks. And if they passed all the steps along the way, we'd go before the CEO team, the executive team. And almost every time the conversations came up about this person's executive presence. People knew them or observed them, but executive presence was always brought up. And I've been in board meetings when board members weren't demonstrating their presence, demonstrating their value, and we had to get rid of them. I remember one time I was in a CEO team meeting, and the CEO and the top 20 or so executives were in the room. And at the end of the meeting, they went around the room to see if anybody had any relevant updates they wanted to share, brief updates. And some had updates, some passed, but there was one guy, one of the senior executives. He didn't have an update, but you know what he did? He asked a question to the group, and all of a sudden, the dynamic in that meeting changed instantly and dramatically, where everybody was jumping in with viewpoints. And I said to myself, this guy's going to be the next CEO. And sure enough, he was the next CEO and still is, very successful. I've observed many executives running their meetings. I have so many examples. I remember one executive was running a meeting with his direct reports, all senior. And there was one guy that would sit in the corner and he would give his presentation. And when the presentation was over, he'd be quiet for the rest of the meeting. And I pulled him aside. I said, look, if you really have ambition, sit up front next to the boss and not only give your presentation, but ask questions to others, including the boss, about the business, about other people's presentations. Give suggestions, ideas to help them, to collaborate. And this person is now recently got promoted to vice president. So here's a few things that I've observed, in my view, what it takes to establish executive presence. Number one, stay calm and composed, especially in those high-level, high-visible meetings when the pressure's on. Stay calm and composed. Number two, be prepared. I used to say that if you prepared 10 minutes before the meeting, you're probably 10 minutes more prepared than the next person. But come prepared with some viewpoints that are fact-based, that you can back up, because that establishes your credibility. Number three, I consider this is the big one for me. This is a personal one for me, and really significant. Have confidence to ask questions. Sure, you got to make presentations. If you're before the board's going to ask you questions and things like that. But have confidence to push back and ask questions to your colleagues, to your boss, to the board, whatever, because that establishes a certain level of presence, especially when you ask questions with confidence, because very few people do that. Have confidence to ask questions. Just like I gave the example of that former senior executive that is now CEO. And finally, number four, when you do speak, remember James Humes said, every time you speak, you're auditioning for leadership. Keep it succinct, keep it clear. I know when I used to present to the senior team, I would always come prepared with 3-4 bullet points. I would say, I have 3 views on this thing. Bing, bing, bing. 15 seconds, I'm done. So I like to use the analogy of the traffic light. For the first 15 seconds, you have a green light. You captured everybody's attention. When the light starts turning yellow, get ready to end, because when it turns red, you may tune out some people. So the more senior the audience, the more crisp, clear, and succinct you have to be. So calm and composed, fact-based viewpoints, have confidence to ask questions, and remember, when you are presenting, think of the traffic light analogy. Thank you for listening.